All right. Welcome to the node.js Diagnostic Working Group meeting, October 11th, 2022. To start with, are there any announcements? Welcome to Yagis to the working group. Yagis, do you want to introduce yourself to the working group?
Yeah, hi. Nice meeting with you, everybody. I am Yagis. I'm a senior software engineer and soon to be Node.js collaborator. So yeah, I was just recently a speaker at the NodeConf talking about URL parsers, and I'm interested in performance-related stuff in Node.js, and there are a couple of pull requests that I opened, and I thought that this would be the great place to talk about those kinds of things. So yeah, thank you again.
Welcome.
Welcome.
So we follow the agenda in the issue, which is 592. We have 3 items in the agenda. Number 1 is LL node current status, issue number 576. I just see Andon just joined. Hey, Andon.
Yeah. So apologies, my battery ran out, had to go and scramble around. So let me open up the link that we have to the update. So I think the main update that we have, there was, while we were at Collaboration Summit and we were at NodeConf EU, there was a number of PRs that were opened by Kayan, and I think I asked for some reviews on some of them, but I still haven't closed those off. I had other bits to do this week, and we'll be looking to get those in towards the weekend. I think the main topic that came up during the Collab Summit and the mini summit from an LL Node perspective was the promises support and some of the stringified output in 16. So some of the features that were missing that we had to drop to get a build for 16 aren't documented yet, and that's still an open item that is caught in one of the open tickets. Apologies again. Well, let me open that up. Yeah. Yeah. So should I share my screen actually? Hold on, so we can see what we're talking to. Share screen. Just that one. Okay. So in general, we're tracking status for LL Node in this in the diagnostics issue here. Okay, and then what we have is work in progress at the moment. Tony started looking at the document user journey here. He got stuck on some of the Mac compatibility pieces, and then some of the version 16 missing features as well. So that's paused at the moment. Looking for somebody else to pick that up potentially, but what we need to do is understand what was dropped in LL Node to get 16 and 18. So in the pull request that we closed, we captured this. So where do we put it in here? There we go. So in here, as part of the whole review process, we captured what was missing and what was taken out, but we didn't review the impact of that from a user point of view. So that's still outstanding. And I think once we've itemized that, then we can do the user journey. So then we'll understand what we can put into the user journey and what we can't. So I committed to putting together that documentation, but just with everybody being in Ireland, I just haven't had a chance to get around to it. But that's the next steps in and around there. If somebody wants to give a hand, that would be fantastic. But that's the current status. I think, should we go back to LLO there now? And we jump into the pull requests. So as I mentioned then, we've got a few patches really. There's no major features in here. We've got a few patches to land to re-enable nightly. I think 19's due out next week. So we're going to be re-enabling nightly so we can see what's broken. We've got some fixes for the build, and we've got some errors, some fixes to some errors to land as well. So I'll land those over the next few weeks, sorry, the next few days as well, towards the weekend probably. So that is pretty much that, yeah. And this is the ticket that actually the issue that captures the work that needs to be done. So that's the one that's outstanding to document the user impact of the missing feature.
Anton,
Yep.
I saw the pull request to bring back the support to 16, actually to include support to the 16 and 18, but
Yep.
it looks like it's missing a few features. It's supported, but not fully supported. Is that true?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, all right.
So where the challenge is that we don't, they seem, if you look at in here, they look fairly innocuous they don't look high impact from a code perspective, but what Tony found was that they are actually high impact from a usability point of view. So we just need to understand what they are, document them. I think 16 is really our challenge. I think 18 is okay, but 16's is particularly it seems to where we've stuck. But we just need to understand what it is, and then we can look at how we bring them up, if we can bring them up. Yeah.
Thanks, Anton. So just so that I understand, the current priority is to support version 16 and 18.
Yeah, so we have a build that now works with that compiles and works to some extent against 16 and 18. So in npm now there is version 4 of LL Node that's released that's compatible with 14, 16, and 18.
Okay.
What we found, what Tony's found while he was doing the user documentation, is that there's some features in 16 that aren't working as expected, and we need to understand the extent of those and document those. We knew it was there, but it seems they could be quite high impacting in terms of use cases, but until we've done the analysis, we don't know.
Okay, got it.
So this is the 14 that was released a few weeks back, a month ago. But we just felt even getting something out where you could inspect variables and have a working, have something that worked and people could start giving feedback, etc., and just starting the development loop was more important rather than hold on to wait for a pristine version.
Yeah. Are there any end user reported issues or work items that is lagging behind because of the need for fully supporting 16 and 18?
There's nothing yet. Yeah, there's potentially one. So if we look at issues, so I think Tony's use case is definitely one of them. Okay, so he's not using it in production. He's just trying to put together a journey through, and he's hit a blocker that I would consider to be a fairly valid use case using 16. So he's definitely one. We had something the other week where this was failing with an internal stack error. We didn't get to the bottom of whether it was a corrupt core dump or whether it was something missing within our parser for the core dump. But this was the other one that came up. So we did some backwards and forwards, and we fixed the initial issue with this patch. So what was happening was it was the LL node was core dumping, which is quite funny in sort of a way. So we stopped it doing that, and that's what this PR is doing. But we didn't bottom out whether that was because of missing features or whether because of a corrupt core dump. We didn't. The end user walked away and closed it. That's all we have of those two directions.
Okay. Thanks, Anton. Any questions to Anton?
I'm just wondering, we have actually Tony faced the macOS issue, but the idea, as far as I remember, we need to have at least two documents, right? The first one is for the diagnostics approach, and the second one is for LL node itself in its own documentation, or is the same one?
For me, it was the same one, but
Same one. Okay.
as far as I know, as far as I understand, but if there are two, maybe I miss something.
Okay.
So do you remember when we were discussing this? Is it in the diagnostics one?
Yeah. Actually, is the next issue in the agenda?
Is it?
Yeah, I think yes. Go directly to the issues. Is
Yes, it is.
yes,
Thanks.
that one.
Yeah. So in here, we got caught up around abnormal termination.
Yeah.
And a crash, didn't we?
Yes. So yeah. So it should be two documents, right?
Yes, and what we said
That's
was
To diagnostic or not diagnostic. There are two about diagnostic, but
Yeah.
there are different
True.
use cases like abnormal termination and crashes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was planning, honestly, I was planning to take lead on that, but since we are about to land the next major, I'm very busy this week in the next one, so I can't take it. But if that stays for some period, I can take like 2 or 3 weeks.
yeah, okay. I'm on top of the running through the use cases that we had an understanding what's been impacted. That's all I can take on, and then closing those two PRs. That's all I'm going to do, I think, for the next between now and the next session. So we can come back around to the user journey.
And regarding the macOS issue, I had a response from Hypel. I didn't dig into it, but I will publish it in the issue and get back on this later. So yeah.
Okay.
All right. Anything else on this item? If
I
not,
don't think I have anything else. Let's just current status. I think that covers it off, doesn't it? We've done this didn't progress much during myself and Tony had a conversation around this debug helper at the collab summit, but this didn't make much further progress. So I'm almost tempted to move this out of work in progress. I'll keep it there for now, but I don't think anybody's actively working on it. And we've discussed the others here. And we could probably close this off as well because this is now the diagnostics call. So we don't need to have a separate one.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, for the debug helper, I mean, it might be helpful to just have like LL node back to like fully working states before digging much into debug helper, because that like it gives you a good idea of like what things you can port into debug helper for like things it doesn't do yet and stuff.
Yeah, agreed. I think, yeah, 100%, Steve. Like, I think we need to get orientated more with the capabilities of LLNO as well. Yeah, as a team.
Yeah, like as it is right now. Yeah, there's like debug helper might be an improvement as it is right now. I don't know, but yeah, we don't actually know what it has or doesn't have from our current
yeah, and I think absolutely, there is an action to go and look at that. But that sorry, that's not work in progress. That is backlog. Okay. Yes, we don't even have the list of capabilities in LL Node with a delta against debug helper. Although we know it's not a 1-for-1 replacement by a long stretch. Yeah. Good shout.
But yeah, it seems to me like good like long-term vision goal kind of thing is like merge the two things together so you can like maintain similar tooling in one space, but you kind of have to have a little more maturity to the tooling before that can really work reasonably.
Yeah, and there's questions around upstream as well. So what's it take to actually, are they interested in taking patches and all that good stuff as well? Don't know. I think we need to figure out the flow of that.
Yeah, so synchronizing of V8 can be complicated, especially for older stuff. So like we probably have to like get changes to support things in like long before it's actually like getting released in Node.
Mm. Cool.
All right. Thanks, Anton. Next is item number 502, user journey tracking documentation.
Yep. I have just one thing I've been thinking about actually is that if you look to the issue, you'll see that the profiling namespace is missing just a content about using native tools for profiling. The problem with it is that I don't think there's, as far as I remember, the only native tool that you can use is the Linux perf itself. Otherwise, you will face V8 or other well documented tools, not native one. I think Stephen can talk a bit more about it, but I believe we don't have any other native tool that you can profile a Node.js application.
There's not really anything that can profile it properly, like not the JavaScript side anyway.
Yeah.
Like native profilers can see like all of the JavaScript frames like will produce like actual native frames. It'll be kind of useless looking. You can't really tell what the actual name of the function is. But there is like with perf, like you can export like perf map data and like map that to like you can make external profilers able to see JavaScript. It's just an extra step.
Yeah, but I mean, this is not like if you use Linux perf just to get the map, you can just use map the Linux perf to produce the flame graph. You don't need like any other native tool than the Linux perf itself, right?
Well, like that, like Linux perf itself will just give you like the native map. But like you can use the code event handler to like build like a mapping from the native map to the JavaScript map. So you can like get actual JavaScript function names and things like that in there. It's an extra.
But that there's like, I mean, that's not feasible, at least for end users, right? Like I don't see anyone ending like trying to use that approach instead of just inspect or Linux perf.
Yeah, it's not a like user friendly thing at all. It's like it's a thing
like we can, but
you can technically do that if you know how. But yeah, like we should have tools that can actually do that properly.
Okay, so might make sense to remove that mention to using native tools, right? We have already covered V8 profiler, using V8 profiler and using Linux perf for profiling itself. And also in the main documentation, we have mentions to the flags CPU prof and -- prof.
Yeah, I can imagine how difficult it's going to be for an end user to natively profile a JavaScript application with no JavaScript methods available, but the CPU percentages and other things very nicely attributed against it. So it's definitely going to be very hard and nearly impractical to do any meaningful profiling.
Yeah, the state it is right now, yeah, it's not useful. It could be made useful, but yeah, it's not currently.
So I have removed it from the list. It means that the profiling is now ready to be moved to the main documentation. So I will take that action later in this week. So yeah, that's all I have for this issue.
One other thing, I mean, if we are looking for completeness, in that section, we could just state this fact that while there may be existing native profiling tools, this is the reason why it is suboptimal or ineffective. If there are very corner case scenarios where you want to debug with the native profilers, these are the things that you can do. These are the things that you cannot do. That sort of a caveat statement will make it complete, but I don't think it is necessary.
Yeah, the problem with mentioning it is like we'll kind of export a not official documentation that might change in like one release and will be out of date. But yeah, we can certainly do it. I just not sure how to express it like in a proper way without being too complex to end users.
Yeah, I agree on the complexity part. So let's remove it and maybe revisit if we find across such scenarios where native profilers are useful, even at least for a very minimal subset. We can always revisit that. Yeah. All right. Anything else on 502? Profit?
Oh, good.
Okay. Thank you. The next one in the agenda is 349, which is report version semantics are not defined. It's a long-standing issue. We had multiple debates on what should be an ideal version semantics. Should we have a version semantics at all in the first place? Then there was a consensus around, yes, it's good to have, because there are tools, or at least one known tool out there in the field which parses the report data, and if the report structure changes without any mechanism to keep track of the change of the structure, then the tools will break with no mean to fix it. So we have a consensus that the semantics definition is useful, but then we had contention around what should be the structure of the semantics itself. So finally, we came to some sort of a consensus that a single-digit semantics version representation that gets bumped every time the structure of the report changes. And that's where we stand at this point. Looks like this working group agrees to that. Let me know if anybody has any final thoughts or any concerns, or otherwise I'm planning to raise a PR in the core to make it effective. Looks like no concern on that, so I'm going to act on that. I see two more items added by Stephen in the agenda. Stephen, did you mean to discuss that today?
Yeah, just wanted to bring it up. I have two draft PRs open right now, adding some new features to Diagnostics channel. One of the storage channel, which is essentially meant to be a replacement for async local storage enter with. It's like the enter with is kind of confusing, and like it's a thing that only APMs really understand how to use, and that was kind of like the intent when it was added in the first place, but it's still like a confusing API surface that people can see in the docs and can shoot themselves in the foot with it. So wanting to make this storage channel thing a thing instead. So there's like a safer way to bind a storage at some like synchronous point. So that's what the first one is for. And then tracing channels, just like every APM wants to trace things, and we want to have some like correlation between channel events. I was also was sort of considering the possibility of like making the storage channel just inherit from tracing channel instead of being like its own separate thing, but that's not super important. I think those can be considered separately. Yeah, the tracing channel I was also considering using for I have actually I can probably just find it. There's another PR to add diagnostic channel events to the module lifecycle. Just pasted that in there.
Stephen, I have just a small question. I'm looking to the add storage channel, and I am a bit confused about how does it correlate with the diagnostics channel itself. Like, I mean, looks like the API is pretty similar, but the only difference is that when you call a storage channel, it gets stored already directly to the async local storage in the current context. Is that true, or I'm missing something?
So storage channel, well, when I first started it, like it actually was layered on top of channels, but it doesn't actually need to be, so I removed that. But it's basically like a start and an end. It's like similar to like domains had the like enter and exit thing, which unfortunately was kind of a mistake to expose, but it's helpful internally. So I have an API that we can do that, but it's not like the enter and exit aspect of it is not exposed. Instead, there's just like a thing you pass a function into, and it'll call the enter and exit around this function. But yeah, that just like the enter is essentially the enter with of async local storage, but now there's like an actual explicit exit rather than like before it was like just assumed that like at the end of the tick it would exit automatically because the like next tick would enter something else, which is not really the safest assumption. So yeah, this just makes that exit more explicit. But yeah, it's essentially like more a feature of async local storage itself, but just put it like in the diagnostics channel side of things, mostly just to make it clear that like the intent is binding between the two.
Okay, yeah. I just
And like
wondering
from the publishing
what is
side
the
as
use
well.
case for that? Yeah.
So for like APMs, like we want to have a storage that is bound to the request. So like when the request starts, like bind this storage to that, and like anything descending from that should like be within the store. So like the way we currently do that is like monkey patching create server and
Yeah.
doing like storage.run around that, but we don't want to be monkey patching things. So we had created that enter with function, but it's not super safe to use.
Yeah.
So we want this like more explicit enter and exit.
Okay. Yeah, but I don't understand why is it in like in the diagnostics channel namespace, because it means like it seems like very related to async hooks, async local storage than diagnostic channel itself.
Well, it's intended as like both a switch and as like a channel of sorts. It's like you do still publish data through it. But yeah, it's my computer being weird. Yeah, the like it's meant from like the like user end of it to behave like it's a channel. So like it should look like just any other channel. Did I get those backwards?
Yeah, I mean, I just saw the pull request. I probably need to spend more time looking into it. So yeah, we can move on, and I will include it to my backlog to review later.
But it's like it's like it's a little bit weird how it works, but like it has the run similar to async local storage, but it's designed so that like the publisher side of a channel can say like this is what I think it should be, but then like on like the subscriber side it can like mutate, or like it can replace that object with something else. It can intercept it and like replace it. So like it is both like a publisher kind of and like a way to wrap a store.
I have a question actually. Is there like a documentation about real world usage of async local storage? Because I couldn't find in all of these issues, like the things that you said that the actual APMs are currently implementing this, and this, but I couldn't find it written in all of those issues. If you can share this, that would be perfect.
Yeah, I don't know that we have any like particular documentation of that. It's just that's how APMs work, and they mostly don't really talk about that. I don't know. That's yeah, we depend on async local storage to propagate context, because like basically we have like within a request there's spans, and we want to like store those spans somewhere that like the rest of the request can see all that to like correlate things together. So yeah, we just create an async local storage and like run that around each request.
Was it complete for the issues that you want to describe?
Sorry, what was that?
I mean, did you complete the update?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's just like both of these are like in draft form right now, just wanting to get other people to review like, is the API itself reasonable? And if so, then I'll go and document all the things.
Okay. Thanks. So that's pretty much we had from today's listing. I see that we have an upcoming meeting next week as well at the same time. It's probably because this one we moved from the last week. Anything else anybody wants to discuss? Otherwise, we are come to an end of this today's discussion.
Yeah, my sense is that we should probably move the next one, but I don't know. How does everybody else feel? Or do we want to sort of get back?
Yeah.
If we move the next one, yeah, then we are looking at the next one coming together as well. So probably we can do that, not an issue. I'm just worried about collision with other Node.js meetings.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I think like the next one we'll probably skip if nothing really important or nothing changed in the scope. But yeah, I just forgot. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I finished it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like, yeah, I either skip or like just leave it on the schedule, and if people want to show up, they can show up.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Makes sense.
Just a small thing about for those who I think just Girish and Yagis weren't in the collab summit, right? Yeah, I think so.
Yes, I wasn't there.
Okay, so we have discussed about the eBPF stuff, and we came up with a plan. Like the first part is like actually let me get the issue, because today is a mess and I don't remember everything.
Find a use case as far as I remember.
Yes, I routed.
And then
Okay.
find a company to support it.
Yes, first is like list out the current pain points and how it will be solved, and what are the real world use cases. Then what are the needed static probes, at least, like for instance, let's say we want to have event loop checks in as a stacked probes. And the last one, but not last important, is like who you support it, because and the main question is there any company behind of this support? Because as we learned that the eBPF support requires some deep knowledge, and we can't bring it back if we don't have someone, or at least a team, that will make this support happen. So that's the general idea.
Okay.
Okay. So I will just paste the issue in the chat, just if you want to take a look later. But that's the idea.
Sure.
So I'm still figuring out with my company if we can do it, but I don't think we'll have bandwidth at least this year for that. So we probably might have a call, or at least Stephen, we can call about it and probably discuss it company-wise and see if we can get something from both companies and see if we can move it forward from Datadog. So that's it.
Thanks, Rafael. All right. Last call before we close the meeting. Anybody else? Any other points? Take it as a no. Thanks everybody for joining. We'll close the call now and meet in maybe 2 weeks' time.
Yep.